Hi guys! My friends from YouTube, welcome to my Orchid channel, Karin's Orchids here in Gothenburg, Sweden. In today's video we're going to talk a little bit about these two orchids, which belongs to the Vanda alliance and a Cattleya species orchid. Cattleya Skinnerii variation Albescens. To be precise. This one is a purchase from Swerta, named Arachnis. Yeah, arachnophobia. I guess you all heard about that. Spider phobia. When you're extremely afraid of spiders. Yes. And variegated. Yeah, this has got variegated, very beautifully colored leaves. That's what caught my eye in the web shop. Not so much flowers really, even though they seem very spectacular and beautiful. Yeah. And another one, Dimorphorchis Lowii, a Growreshna purchase. It's grown this tall from this, so it's I think it's doubled its size 3 times since I got it. So it's a quite fast growing orchid. If you keep it under the right conditions, that is. This one likes a bit of warmth. You shouldn't keep it too cool. So, and loads of humidity, loads of water. And we're good to go. But Cattleya light, yeah. If you say Vanda light, add on a little bit more light. So we'll land on Cattleya light here. And that's what really made these guys take off. Size-wise and growth-wise. So that for the moment, perhaps not in a little bit inactive growth here. And this one, not so much anymore. Let's take a closer look at him, and we're going to repot him, and we're also going to repot the Cattleya species Skinnerii Albescens today. Talk about him a little bit more as well. So. Well, I actually have 2 Dimorphorchis orchids. I also have the Rossii. It's got differently colored flowers. The Lowii has got. This little one I got as a seedling 2 years ago from Growreshna, also from Growreshna. Yes. So it was a very tiny seedling. So it's been, believe it or not, it's been growing, but it has been growing as fast as the Lowii. It's been hanging in my cabinet over there. Very good humidity. And for now, I'm trying to give it a little bit more light. I think it will come to its liking. And it will need it to grow. Set it in a moss and bark mixture. Here. This one is extremely rare. And this one is rare. From what I grasped, yes. Both coming from Borneo. And this one's flowers has got orange basil color. And the flowers are transitioning into spotted yellow flowers with less fragrance. And it loves water and could preferably be potted up in some kind of moss mixture, I've heard. And it likes it warm, this one. A little bit more than the Lowii, perhaps. As it's a tropical growing species. Yeah, intermediate warm, yeah. So, not much more to say about this one. But what these 2 guys have in common is naturally their very spectacular blooming habit on producing 2 types of blooms, differently colored and patterned, on the very same regime. And if that wasn't enough, half of the flowers on the very same regime are fragrant and the other ones aren't. So, 2 very significant traits. And my Lowii I actually had for 4 years. Shouldn't really let this guy dry out thoroughly. It only sets him back, I've noticed. And that's my experience. Now he's not so pale green anymore. I've been giving this guy a little bit less light than it's used to be sitting in, so good light, good humidity, and good amount of water. And this one will do great for you. Yeah, grows best hanging, in case it produces a flower spike. It is flowering size by now. It had 2 years to flowering size when I got it 4 years ago. So, but well, I think it will take a little bit longer, but it's well on its way. And that's great. Really great. Well, let's talk a little bit about this Arachnis, the scorpion orchid. I got it 2 years ago from Swart Orchidine. And I had 1 year to flowering size, so it's been flowering sized for 1 year, according to the website. It also belongs to the Vanda Alliance, yes? Monopodial, well, it's not so difficult to find out. But anyways, it does. That is a hybrid. This one is not a species as the other ones are. It's actually a hybrid between Arachnis hookeriana and Arachnis flos Aries. And the name Maggie Oei is a very unusual name, I'd say. It's a tribute to a well-known orchid figure in the community. It says on Google. Well, yeah. 5 inches, red flowers. Yeah, that's quite large flowers. Should dry up a little bit in between the waterings. And that's why I keep it in a clay pot. It can breathe and it will dry out a little bit faster. Give it loads of water while it's in growing stage and during the growth season, summer and spring. Give it a slight rest in winter period, and that will encourage blooming. And this one can bloom any time of the year, so if happy. I've had quite a big problem with this guy since I moved it from that cabinet into the cabinet inside my living room, the little bit warmer cabinet. Here, the one I rinsed and cleaned thoroughly with bleach. Now the fog is on, everything looks clean and nice, and hopefully it is. Hopefully the thrips died from my careful treatment, yeah. So now it's 86% humidity, but it only lasts for a bit whilst that one is on, the fogger. And it will go down to about 60, 65, and stay there until the next fogger session is active, yeah. So here's where it's been sitting the last couple of months. Here's its place. It's almost getting too high for this space, yes. It's growing very fast, this Arachnis orchid. Anyways, why I wanted to show you this is that I had a severe problem with thrips. In this area, it's a lot more dry than it is in my kitchen area, since this is a lot larger space. So it will naturally be a bit more dry, not so humid. Yeah. That's why the thrips got to it. Loads of happy sap and kind of dry. So I actually saw them crawling on this new leaf. Here, you can see. This one has been covered in happy sap, really. A new roots comes out here, along the stem. Not long ago, it was an active growth with good green root tips, as you can see. It doesn't mean it doesn't carry any roots down there as well. You can see a little hint of what's down there, so still stuff is alive in there. That's great. But I didn't notice, I just thought that the markings was due to all of the happy sap and light. Yes, they somehow burnt the happy sap into the leaves. Yeah, I had my own theory. I didn't really expect the thrips to go in there, in that a bit more humid area, but they did. Thrips poop. And up here, as you can see, the irregular patches here. So, what did I do? Why is this orchid standing here in front of us? Gee, I need to repot it. I cannot be sure that the thrips aren't lurking down there anymore. I'm 80% sure, but that's not enough, alright? I treated this orchid yesterday with bleach water. I sprayed it 2 or 3 times in a time frame of about 1 hour. I even poured bleach water through the pot. Yes. Yeah, it cut my heart, really, when I was doing that. But I didn't have a choice, did I? Such a waste on this beautiful, beautiful foliage, isn't it? Well, but I bet she's going to grow taller, even taller than this, so. Now I know that she's a thrip magnet, and I need to keep an eye on her. And I also sprayed her with my orange oil afterwards for some extra precautions. So that's why I'm going to repot her today. And I also am going to repot the Dimorphorchis Lowii, so yeah, I'm going to let them soak in a bucket of water. They've been sitting in the same cabinet, that's why. So, since I am going to extinct the thrips in my growing space, they are going to be extincted, and I am going to get twice as many flower spikes, especially on the Cattleyas, than I am today. I've done it before, and I can do it again. And see if we can only... Yeah, we could. Very easily. Since I did use quite a lot of moss around the sides of the pot, so to speak. Quite a lot of moss. Good amount of moss. I need to soak some new moss. I can feel it. Wow, look at this lovely root system. This is what happens in a clay pot. In a clay pot, roots are always growing nicely. I rarely find any dead roots in a clay pot when I repot. Since it's breathing, the clay is breathing, yeah. So it's quite difficult to overwater stuff in a clay pot. At times, this one was sitting in this container without the gravel. That one way down, filled with water. Didn't overwater it. Nope, didn't affect it. Well, I was slobby, but it didn't make a difference. It was right to be slobby and overwater when using clay pots. Not always, but in many cases, yeah. So, I feel I need to dip water this one for a while to get rid of all of the stuff. Moss clinging on to the roots is it's kind of difficult to get rid of. It's got a tendency of just wanting to cling on to it. I don't want to lose this grip, really. Quite some moss, a bit of charcoal. Yeah. And a little bit more moss. Pieces do not need to be far too shredded, so it's all right. Still have a bit of my Paffy Peddler mix. Why not use it? Medium grade bark in here and perlite. And in some cases even a couple of eggshells and rose stones, but well, you can grow your orchids in virtually anything, any kind of medium, almost. So I'm not so worried. You can even use the same mix for orchid number 2 in the order to be repotted. Orchid number 2 in line. I'm waiting impatiently there. Well, not the same mixture, really. That is, if there's going to be anything left over after the Arachnis repotting. Down there. Look at this marvelous root system. Almost not a single dead root in there. That's the advantage of keeping orchids in clay pots. But what I think I'm gonna do is... Shut up! No. Kind of, sort of, try to cover the sides. So it will be just as easy to get it out from the pot next time we need to repot it. I'm not saying we're rid of the thrips yet. There might come a day when I need to get this orchid out from the pot in an emergency situation. Coffee time. Looks almost like it did before we repotted it, so no big change in appearance, really, is there? Yeah, better stake her up here. Yeah, she's a tall gal, needs a lot of support. I probably need to add a stake on to the front side of her as well this time. So as media is fresh and new and a little bit more loose than it was before, since she's not settled yet. Yeah. Yeah. You see, same zip tie. It's all right. Here's a zip tie. Tie them together a little bit for even more support. This orchid. And a bit more frequent watering for her to start with, till the new medium can take up water and retain the water. All right. Goodly good. So let us now look at the Dimorphorchis Lowii. And you think that dimor, fork, means two. I will look it up. Its name explains the flowering habit of the orchids genera. I've heard. I might be wrong, but I don't think so. Look, this one craves a lot of water. I'm not sure that I'm gonna get it out from there in one piece. I might need to cut the pot. We shall see. She's so very pot bound, this one. And she dries very, very quickly. Really needs to be upgraded, this pot. So I'm gonna cut it off. We don't need this part anymore. So now I must cut it open. I very rarely use these types of pots with handmade holes these days. It's too dry. And that's often where I'm failing, not giving the orchids appropriate amount of water. It's not the frequency really. It's that they dry out due to the pots. But still, I do choose to keep my Cattleyas, for example, loads of my Cattleyas in clay pots. So I think it's so worth it. So I found a way to make the maintenance of them easier. You need to come up with solutions when you have 300 plus orchids. And still got a steady job to go to during the weekdays. It must be very, very cunning. No. Well, it's only this root now, which has expanded ever since it's pierced through the hole there. But I know a way to save it. Of course I do. Done this before. Oh. Issue solved. Roots out. Goodly good. Why not save them all whilst we're at it? Whilst we can. Yeah, we could. We managed. So, time to soak it again. I think it's going to take a real effort to get rid of all of these pieces of bark, but we'll see. Look at this guy's root system. Not much dead at all. Oh, a couple of old tips maybe, but as it's been sitting in a plastic pot and all, it's often what happens. But as I do want to have it in a hanging basket, and clay pot is not really all that easy to maintain a very heavy one. Let's see now, I can tangle them up a little bit more. Oh yeah, lost one there. I lost another one, but it's okay. It's a very expansive root system. Anyways, so I never thought that this orchid would be such a fast-growing one, a viable growing one. Since I followed the experiment on YouTube, when somebody, I do not remember who it was, some guy who gave this type of orchid to a couple of good larger orchid channels, growers, on YouTube, to challenge them to see who would grow these guys best in their conditions. Well, obviously, I'm not sure, but I think it ended up with the one growing in the warmest condition, more suitable for Vanda orchids. So this is a lot better pot for it, but it won't hold that many new roots. But well, it's 2 size up, and for now, let's try it out and see how it does. But I've decided not to use far too much moss for it. A little bit drier mix that we used for the Maggie Oei. A little bit. This is now sitting in a bigger pot, but I won't have to water it as frequently. Now, since it needs a lot of moisture, this now huge orchid, or at least a good sized orchid. So, I think I repotted it once. Upgraded the pot one size. 2 years ago. It's not easy to get it down there amongst the roots down there. Especially not when it's a little bit damp. Since due to the moss I just soaked. But I will give it a go anyways. It will sort itself out a bit after a couple of waterings. The roots I wanted to drop, I've already done so, so I think it's safe to stick your fingers down there and try to reach the areas and the gaps where there aren't any visible medium. I'm not scared to break the roots, in other words, anymore. Oh, it looks better. Yeah. You can see no holes to this pot. I do not really think that this orchid needs the airy so much airiness anymore. I think this is all right. Or if it's not, well, I think this one will recover. It can even be grown in moss, as to say, so I'm not so especially worried, really, what I'm doing now. So, let's do the lifting experiment. Yeah, it's all right. Good staking and a good flush on the tap. And, well, I think it's about time that I release this poor orchid from this very tightly tied zip tie. So, fair chance to expand in width. Yeah, straighten it out a bit to get it straighter, more upright in the pot. Might even use a second one for some front side support as well. I don't want to hit the roots. Yeah, go like this and cut it off. And do the very same thing as we did for the other one. Tie the support stakes together. Found the tag, yeah. And a flush, and we're good to go. And we need to update the folder on the drive now with some new information to these two guys. And now we do have the last orchid, and that's not a Vandaceous type orchid, it's a Cattleya. So stay tuned for a little bit longer, yes? It's all squeezed in here. I showed you this guy in the some kind of repot or not repot session, after my latest curling haul. Well, this today I need to address this orchid as well. I need to decide what to do with it. It's not actually doing bad on its mount. This where's the tag? My lucky day. Well, it's the Cattleya Skinnerii variation Albescens. So it's an albiform, which means very white flowers. But in this particular case, I think this one's flower has got a very significant black center. So it looks like a black dot. So it's quite catching from a distance if you watch them in clusters. But anyways, do I need a Cattleya in that cabinet, which will grow quite wide? Well, you can see my reflection in the cabinet. Well, and that's what happens when you film when it's sunny outside. That's when you need to choose the right time for it. Preferably nighttime. But anyways, I don't have time for nighttime today. So, now it's off of the mount. Yeah, this is only a matter of not having proper space in the cabinet. This one will grow. I mean, when I got it from a friend, it was this size, this white, had a quite long, expansive rhizome. Yes. No roots, none whatsoever. And what happened next? Well, I put it in average room temperature. Put it down into a little container without any medium. Yeah. I thought it had a couple of eyes which seemed quite promising all around it, the base of the rhizome, but well, nothing really ever happened. It stayed that way for 6 months, I think. So 2 or 3 canes here crumbled up, turned yellow, and died. So I needed to cut it off of this section. There or there, I do not remember now. So it's not really the very best of ideas to split a Cattleya into 2 sections and keep one for yourself and try to sell the other one without any tendency of a new growth coming and without viable roots. The older section is almost always rootless, in a sense that its roots are very, very old and not sufficient to take up water and moisture anymore. Anyway, so it doesn't really matter. That's why people always cut the roots off on the older pseudobulbs, when dividing. But anyways, then you can reassure yourself that all of the roots coming are fresh and healthy. Yes? Anyways, now, so fragile tips. Just by bringing it out from the cabinet, I broke off this root tip. But there are a couple of more there. So, this one I'm gonna put into a little clay pot. Saturated for at least 8 hours. The pores will be saturated, and when they're wet, this one, the whole lot, the whole pot will expand. Yes, to keep the moisture, you need to expand. When it's dry, it will shrink. So, and the same goes for the medium. If it's wet, the medium will be out there. And when it dries, it will shrink. Yes. Anyways, enough talk. Let us do something about it before it's too late. Yes, the tips. Need to be so careful with the tips. So now, good position. I bet it won't come as a surprise for you, but there will be my moss mix for it. And I will treat this one the very same way I treat almost all of the rest of my Cattleyas, potted up in organic medium. And I will not pre-wet the medium. I want to tell you why. If I spray the root here very carefully, you can see it's starting to turn a bit green. Just a little tiny bit green. So that means that it's able to take up a bit of moisture. But if you dip these guys and let them soak and let them stay in a water reservoir, perhaps in semi-hydro or such, it's too late. This is at the very latest stage to put an orchid into semi-hydro. These roots are too far developed, for my liking. But so I'm gonna be very careful with watering. Just spray the medium slightly, very slightly, and put the orchid itself back into the cabinet for about 1 more month's time. So as it's adapted to that condition now, and you can see leaves set the skin sturdier and sturdier and more hydrated. So I don't want to disturb this orchid far too much at this stage. So this is what I would have done in a situation like this. But in order to speed up the root and growth process on an orchid with absolutely no roots and no sign of any new growth, only eyes, it will minimize the time frame for you. I should have done that as soon as I got it, but I was just trying stuff out, so I lost half of the plant. Anyways, she's finished. ready to go in there, into the cabinet again. So. I bet you guys also heard of the spag-in-bag method. Yeah. You seal a bag with a Cattleya in it, a rootless Cattleya in it, and put a little bit of spag around. It's supposed to be a root system, yeah. And seal the bag and gradually open it a bit after time, but yeah. Of course I tried out spag and bag, but in here is equal to rodening the orchid. So this is better. Someplace more humid. Well, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I repotted 2 Vandaceous type orchids and 1 Cattleya. Hope you liked it. Give it a like if you did. Subscribe, share, we should talk soon. Take care guys. Bye bye.